In Scrum and really all of Agile, user stories are typically estimated using story points. And a story point sometimes can be a topic that's a little difficult to explain, and sometimes grasping it requires a little bit of actually practicing it first. The story points were developed that came out of the community as a way of normalizing estimations across the board, so everybody is using the same type of technique. So a story point is a singular number that will represent how big the effort is to build the user story. Are there any unknowns? The bigger the effort, the higher the estimation in story points is going to be. The more unknowns as well. So that's going to also result in a higher estimation in story points. The most popular story point scale is a scale called the rounded or modified Fibonacci scale. We can see it here. It starts off like something like the Fibonacci scale that was discussed in high school mathematics. 1 plus 2 equals 3. 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8, 5 plus 8 is 13. However, changes right after 13. Then we have 20, 40, 100, and sometimes there's infinity after this, but that doesn't make any sense. There are other scales. There's a scale called the power of 2, and there's also small, medium, and large as well. The good thing, or what's considered to be strong with the modified Fibonacci scale, is the way it deals with uncertainty. So if we draw an imaginary line here right between 13 and 20, all stories estimated at 13 and below are considered to be highly certain. They're well broken down, understood, very certain. Anything that's 20 or above is considered to be either highly or have a degree of uncertainty and may require more scrutiny. Now, there are legitimate stories, no question about it, that are well understood and ready to go, that can be 20s, can be 40s, no question about it. But in this range, it alerts the team that there could be additional work to do. So generally, the rule is the team comes up with its own idea of what a one story point is, and the way that are estimated relatively, meaning they're estimated against one another. So we just don't take an effort of what we think they are. We estimate them against the other story points in the backlog or proposed sprint backlog. And here we see that a 2-point story is about double the effort of a 1-point user story. And anything that's about triple the effort of a 1-point user story would be 3 points. And the team then continuously estimates based on that pattern and never looks back. Now, some methodologists, some Scrum methodologists, and some Scrum coaches will always prescribe that it's up to the team to decide what a 1-point story is. Some teams are very comfortable with that. Other teams need some guidance. So the community does offer some guidance about a 1-point user story. And I like this approach. So a 1-point user story is a user story that can be coded and tested in one day. In other words, we can get the story to done in one day. So the team has to have that idea of, okay, what is a feature, what are some functionalities that we can get done in one day? Any story that's about double the 1-point story would be a 2, and then anything that's about triple the 1-point story would be a 3. And the idea is continue that approach. So go up to your 5, your 8, your 13s. If we get in the realms of 20 and higher, the team should use additional scrutiny. One very, very popular exercise to estimate story points is an exercise called estimating poker or planning poker. It's not a game. It's a very efficient, collaborative exercise. So each team member gets a deck of cards or an app. And there are variations. If this is done in a distributed manner, you can certainly use a chat session of a web conference. But what happens is either during backlog refinement, this happens quite often during backlog refinement. It can happen during sprint planning. Hopefully during sprint planning, a lot of the questions are answered, a lot of the estimations are done, but that doesn't mean that there aren't stories or user stories that we will need to estimate during sprint planning. So the team, either with their cards or with their app, we go through a discussion with the product owner. The product owner reads the story and answers questions if required, if needed. And each team member secretly votes on how many story points that team member thinks should be assigned to that story. Then all the cards are turned over at once, and the team discusses any differences and eventually comes to consensus. Sometimes there are team members that may have some experience, and then what they vote may be the way the team goes. It's really up to the team how they want to come to consensus. So when we are estimating our stories, either estimating poker or some other way, it is a full team exercise. So both subject matter experts and non-subject matter experts estimate stories. And why is this? Why is this good? Well, number one, it takes advantage of something we call the wisdom of the crowd. Even though I might not know much about building a particular story or a piece of functionality, I sometimes had that feeling that that's a big job or that's not that big a job. That the wisdom of the crowd tends to be very accurate over time. Also, it's a great opportunity for learning and collaboration. It gives subject matter experts to discuss. It gives them that chance to discuss why they think a story should be estimated as a 5 rather than estimated as a 3. And it's a great learning opportunity. And it is also very, very efficient. The Scrum Master ensures that the team members are doing the estimation and they are not pressured to either overestimate or underestimates the stories. The team will estimate the stories to a point that all the story points equals or does not exceed the team's velocity, and then the estimation for, at least for that sprint, is complete.